Captain Jake stood at the observation deck of Earth Defense Station Sentinel-7, watching the distant glow of Mars against the black canvas of space. It had been 3 years since humanity joined the galactic community, 3 years of careful diplomacy and cautious optimism. The coffee in his hand had gone cold, but he barely noticed. His shift would end in 2 hours, and he looked forward to sending a message to his daughter back on Earth. The alarm shattered the quiet. Red lights flooded the command center as Jake sprinted from the observation deck. His crew was already at their stations when he burst through the doors. Lieutenant Amy looked up from her communications console, her face pale. "Captain, we have multiple hostile signatures dropping out of hyperspace near Mars," she said. Her voice trembled slightly. "They're not responding to our hails." Jake moved to the tactical display. 30 warships, their designs unmistakably, formed an attack pattern above New Boston Colony. The settlement held 40,000 people. Men, women, children, families who had moved to Mars seeking a new life among the stars. "Get me Admiral," Jake ordered, "and someone explain to me why they are here." Before anyone could answer, the first weapons fired. Jake watched in horror as bright lances of energy struck the colony's shields. The barriers held for perhaps 30 seconds. Then they failed. The bombardment that followed was methodical, precise, and utterly merciless. Residential sectors, agricultural domes, schools, the targeted everything. "Captain, we're receiving distress calls from Europa," Amy said, her hands shaking over her controls. "Settlement is under attack, same pattern, same aggressors." Jake's jaw clenched. "Station." Amy closed her eyes. "Yes, sir, all 3 colonies hit simultaneously." The next 20 minutes passed in a blur of desperate communications and mounting casualties. Jake coordinated rescue efforts, but Sentinel-7 was a monitoring station, not a warship. They could only watch and record as the fleet systematically destroyed 3 human settlements. When the bombardment finally ceased, 47,000 people were dead. The ships regrouped in high orbit above Mars. Then, as if to mock humanity's helplessness, they broadcast a message on all frequencies. The alien face that appeared on every screen throughout the solar system belonged to Overlord, Supreme Commander of the Empire. "Humans," said his translator, rendering his words in flat, emotionless tones, "you have failed to pay proper tribute for passage through territorial space. This attack serves as education. Know your place among the great powers of the galaxy. You are newcomers. You are weak. You are beneath notice." The transmission ended. Jake stared at the blank screen. Around him, his crew sat in stunned silence. Amy was crying quietly at her station. The young ensign at navigation looked like he might be sick. "Sir," Amy finally whispered, "what do we do?" Jake had no answer. On Earth, Ambassador Helen Carter received the same transmission in her office at the Galactic Embassy complex in Geneva. She had spent 3 years building relationships with dozens of alien species, carefully navigating the complex politics of galactic society. She had believed in the process, believed that civilization meant dialogue, compromise, peaceful resolution. She watched the death toll climb on her data pad. 47,000. The number kept growing as rescue teams found more bodies. Her secure communication terminal chimed. Admiral's face appeared and Helen barely recognized him. The Admiral was known for his calm demeanor, his patient approach to problems. The man on her screen looked nothing like that. His eyes were cold, his jaw set in a hard line. "Ambassador, I need you to call an emergency session of the Galactic Council," said. "I've already sent the request," Helen replied. "But you need to understand the Council moves slowly. There are procedures, debates, diplomatic considerations. This could take weeks." "Then they'll miss the show," said simply. "What are you planning?" "Exactly what I was trained to do, Helen. Those bastards killed our people. They killed children. They broadcast it like entertainment." Leaned closer to the camera. "I'm activating every reserve unit, every defense contract, every contingency plan we've ever written. They wanted to teach us a lesson about our place in the galaxy. Time to teach them one right back." Helen felt a chill run down her spine. She had read the classified reports about Earth's military capabilities. Most alien species assumed humanity's fleet was small, perhaps 50 or 60 warships at most. They were very, very wrong. "How long?" she asked quietly. 48 hours until we're ready to move," said. "Tell the Council they have 2 days to get out of our way." The connection ended. Helen stood and walked to her window, looking out at the peaceful city below. Somewhere in Geneva, families were receiving notifications that their loved ones on Mars, Europa, and Station were gone. Somewhere, parents were learning their children would never come home. She picked up her communication device and began drafting the emergency session request. As she wrote, she included a single line that she knew would get the Council's attention. Earth is mobilizing for war. If you wish to prevent galactic conflict, convene immediately. The Galactic Council chamber on Station Unity Prime filled within 12 hours. Representatives from 43 species gathered, their various forms of concern, curiosity, and amusement evident despite their alien features. Ambassador, an elder statesman from the peaceful collective, called the session to order. "We have received Ambassador Carter's emergency request," began. "The attack on human colonies by the Empire was unfortunate, but we must approach this situation with calm deliberation. Violence only breeds more violence." Helen stood at the human podium, her hands gripping the edges tightly. 47,000 people are dead. The attack was unprovoked, targeted civilians, and included children. We demand immediate sanctions and the surrender of Overlord for trial. A ripple of surprised sounds moved through the chamber. The representative, a minor official since himself had not bothered to attend, spoke up. "The Overlord acted within our Empire's rights. Humans failed to acknowledge proper territorial customs. The punishment was measured and appropriate." "Appropriate?" Helen's voice rose. "You murdered families." "We educated newcomers," the replied smoothly. "Perhaps now you will learn respect." Ambassador raised a calming appendage. "Please, let us not escalate rhetoric. The Council will form a committee to investigate these events. We shall review all evidence and issue recommendations within 6 to 8 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks, Helen repeated. "These matters require thorough examination," explained patiently. "We must consider all perspectives, hear testimony, review precedent. Justice cannot be rushed." Helen looked around the chamber at the assembled representatives. Some looked sympathetic, others bored. A few seemed actively amused by humanity's distress. None of them looked ready to actually do anything. "Then you'll have to investigate without Earth's participation," Helen said quietly, "because we're done waiting for justice." She left the chamber to confused murmurs behind her. Back on Earth, Admiral stood in the Global Defense Command Center. Screens showed activity at every shipyard, every military base, every research facility. The entire planet hummed with purpose. "Status report," ordered. Colonel Frank Martinez stepped forward. "Special operations teams ready for deployment. Intelligence has mapped every military installation within 12 light years. Doctor's Weapons Research Division has released 6 new systems from classified development. They're being installed on the fleet now." "Fleet status." Commander Sophie Blake pulled up a tactical display. "Admiral, all reserve forces are active. Commercial vessels are being recalled and retrofitted. We'll have 340 warships ready within 40 hours. Nodded slowly. 340. The galactic community thought Earth had maybe 50. They thought humanity was still building its first real navy. They had no idea that merchant ships could be converted to warships in hours, that mining vessels carried hidden weapon systems, that humanity had been preparing for this possibility since the day they joined the galactic stage. The change happened fast, too fast for anyone watching from outside to fully comprehend. 6 hours after the attack, every shipyard in human space switched to military production. The orbital facilities above Earth that had been building cargo haulers started assembling weapon systems instead. The mining operations in the asteroid belt recalled their crews and began converting excavation equipment into military hardware. 3 research stations that officially studied peaceful applications of technology suddenly unveiled weapons that had been in classified development for years. Dr. Lisa walked through her laboratory at Advanced Weapons Research Division 7, checking each station as her team worked. They had not slept since receiving the activation order. No one had complained. "Status on the quantum disruption missiles?" she asked the technician at Station 3. "First batch ready for deployment," he replied without looking up from his work. "Another 200 units will be complete within 18 hours. Lisa moved to the next station, where a young engineer was calibrating something that looked like a simple targeting computer. It was not simple at all. The autonomous drone swarms are initialized, the engineer reported. Each carrier ship can deploy 5,000 units. They'll overwhelm any point defense system they have. Good, Lisa checked her data pad. Every project that had been theoretical yesterday was now reality today. The military had given her division unlimited resources and one simple instruction: make them regret it. She intended to do exactly that. At Fort Houston in Texas, Colonel Frank Martinez briefed his special operations teams. 200 of the most dangerous soldiers humanity had ever produced sat in the briefing room, their faces calm and focused. They were the ones who would go in first, before the fleet, before the bombing runs. They would be the ones behind enemy lines. Our targets are command and control centers, Martinez explained, pulling up holographic displays of alien installations. Intelligence has identified 23 critical nodes across their territory. We take these out, and their military coordination collapses. A hand went up. Sir, how are we getting there without being detected? Martinez smiled coldly. That's the beautiful part. They think we're primitive. Their security systems are designed to catch advanced alien infiltration techniques. They're not looking for humans using basic stealth technology and old-fashioned patience. The room filled with grim chuckles. Equipment happens in 4 hours, Martinez continued. We deploy in 16 questions. There were none. These soldiers had trained for years waiting for a mission that might never come. Now it was here and they were ready. In orbit above Earth, Commander Sophie Blake coordinated the largest fleet assembly in human history. Her command center tracked every vessel as they emerged from hiding or completed their conversions. What the aliens had dismissed as cargo ships revealed their true nature. Weapon systems deployed. Military-grade engines powered up. Advanced targeting computers came online. Ma'am, the Chicago has completed conversion, a lieutenant reported. That makes 57 vessels ready for combat operations. Sophie studied the tactical display. The Chicago had been registered as a mineral transport. In reality, it carried enough firepower to level a small moon. Multiply that by 340 ships, and the result was a fleet that could challenge any mid-tier power in the galaxy. How long until we reach full operational capacity? 28 hours, ma'am. Admiral wants us ready to move in 48. We'll be ready in 36, Sophie replied. I want those extra 12 hours for contingencies. The lieutenant grinned. Yes, ma'am. Agent Chris sat in a dark room surrounded by computer screens, his fingers moving rapidly across multiple keyboards. He was not alone. 30 of Earth's best intelligence operatives worked around him, each one tunneling deeper into networks. I'm in their logistics database, one agent reported. They have supply lines stretching across 6 systems. All the routes are right here. Got their fleet deployment schedules, another added. They've pulled most of their ships back to core territories. They think we're going to try a direct assault on there. Chris pulled up the compiled data. They had made a critical mistake. They had attacked Earth and then gone home to celebrate, assuming humanity would spend months preparing any response. They had no idea humans could mobilize this quickly. Package this and send it to Admiral, Chris ordered, and keep digging. I want to know every ship location, every ammunition depot, every officer's daily routine. By the time we're done, we'll know the military better than they know themselves. His screens flickered as another firewall fell. They had good security. Humans had better hackers. On the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Helen Carter watched the proceedings with growing frustration. For 18 hours, the representatives had debated the proper way to form a committee to investigate the attack. 18 hours of parliamentary procedure while Earth buried its dead. Ambassador was speaking, his tone patient and measured. We must ensure that any investigating body represents all perspectives fairly. Perhaps a subcommittee should first determine the committee's structure. The representative looked smug. The Overlord has agreed to cooperate with any reasonable inquiry. We have nothing to hide. Helen's communication device buzzed silently. A message from Admiral. She read it and felt something between horror and satisfaction. Ambassador Carter, does Earth have input on the committee structure? Asked politely. Helen stood. Earth withdraws from this process. We will pursue our own justice. The chamber erupted in confused murmurs. The representative laughed. Does the human threaten us? Your fleet is small, your technology primitive. You cannot challenge a galactic power. Actually, Helen said calmly, our fleet numbers 340 warships. Our technology includes several weapon systems your intelligence services have never seen. And we will challenge anyone who murders our people and thinks they can hide behind committees and debate. The laughter died, looked alarmed. Ambassador, please reconsider. Military action will only escalate the situation. The situation escalated when the killed 47,000 civilians, Helen replied. You have 48 hours to get your people out of the combat zone. After that, anyone near a military target should consider themselves in danger. She left the chamber. Behind her, the council descended into chaos. Admiral watched the tactical displays in Global Defense Command with grim satisfaction. Every piece was moving into place. The fleet was assembling faster than projected. Special operations teams were boarding their stealth transports. Intelligence had mapped every target worth hitting. Admiral, we're receiving communications from several alien governments, an aide reported. They're asking about our force composition and intentions. Tell them the truth, said. We're about to destroy the military. Anyone who interferes will be considered hostile. Anyone who stays clear will be left alone. Sir, the hegemony is offering to mediate. Snorted, the mediate because they're too weak to fight. We're neither, declined politely. Doctor entered the command center, looking exhausted but satisfied. Admiral, the last shipment of quantum missiles is loaded. Drone carriers are armed and programmed. Your fleet has more firepower than anything they have ever faced. How much more? Lisa smiled. About 4 times more than they think exists in this region of space. Nodded, good, Colonel Martinez. Martinez's face appeared on a communication screen. Special operations teams are in position, sir. We're just waiting for the go order. Stand by, turned to Commander Blake. Fleet status. All vessels ready, Admiral. We're 12 hours ahead of schedule. Looked around the command center at his assembled staff. Behind him, screens showed Earth peaceful and blue. Somewhere down there, families were mourning. Children were asking why their parents were not coming home. Old people were burying the young. The thought we were weak because we're new to galactic society, said quietly. They thought we were helpless because we chose diplomacy first. They forgot to ask themselves why a species would choose peace. He pulled up a tactical display showing 26 military targets across 4 star systems. You choose peace because war is what you're actually good at. We tried peace because we're terrifying at war. Touched the display, marking each target. 48 hours after they attacked us, we're going to hit them everywhere at once. We're going to show them what humans do to anyone who hurts our families. We're going to make sure every species in this galaxy understands one fact. He looked at each person in the command center. You can negotiate with humans. You can trade with humans. You can even compete with humans. But you do not ever attack human civilians and expect to survive the response. Colonel Martinez spoke from the screen. Sir, we have confirmation. Forces are celebrating their victory. Their guard is down. Felt something cold settle in his chest. Not rage, not even anger, just absolute certainty about what came next. All units, he said clearly, you are weapons free. Special operations, you are go for insertion. Fleet commanders, begin your approach runs. Hit them hard, hit them fast, hit them everywhere. He paused, then added one more thing. And remember, this is not about conquest. This is about making sure no one ever thinks they can do this to us again. Across human space, 340 warships began moving toward their targets. In the dark between stars, stealth transports carried special operations teams toward enemy installations. In laboratories and factories, the final weapons rolled off assembly lines. The Empire had 47,000 reasons to fear what was coming. They just did not know it yet. On his command ship, Overlord watched reports from his generals. The humans were making threats. Their ambassador had walked out of the Galactic Council. There were rumors of fleet movements. Should we increase our defensive posture? One general asked. Laughed, against humans? They are decades behind us technologically. They have no real military tradition. Let them posture and threaten. By the time they organize any response, we will have negotiated favorable terms through the Council. The attacks began at exactly 300 Galactic Standard Time across 4 star systems simultaneously. Captain Foster stood on the bridge of the Earth warship Retribution as it dropped out of hyperspace. The naval yard at station filled his. completely unprepared for what was about to happen. 26 other human vessels emerged from hyperspace around him, their weapons already charging. All ships, this is Foster. Weapons free, target the construction docks first. The first volley caught them completely by surprise. Quantum disruption missiles streaked across the void, their targeting so precise that each one struck a critical junction point in the station's structure. The alien facility shuddered as explosions rippled through its framework. Lieutenant Flores worked her tactical console with focused intensity. Captain, enemy defense platforms are powering up. 16 targets identified. Deploy the drone swarms, Foster ordered. Retribution's launch bays opened, and 5,000 autonomous drones poured out like angry insects. Each one was small, fast, and carried just enough explosive to damage a ship's hull. The defense platforms tried to target them, but there were too many moving too fast. Within 90 seconds, every platform was swarmed and offline. Sir, patrol ships are scrambling, Flores reported. 8 vessels inbound. Foster watched the tactical display calmly. Let them come. Weapons, prepare firing solution Gamma. The ships approached in a standard defensive formation. It was textbook tactics, exactly what their training manuals prescribed. The problem was that humans had read those training manuals. Agent's intelligence team had provided everything. Fire, Foster commanded. The Retribution and her sister ships opened fire at precisely the weak points in the formation. The enemy ships had overlapping shield coverage that should have protected them, but the human weapons struck at the exact angles where the shields interfaced, creating cascading failures. 3 ships exploded immediately. 2 more spun away, crippled and venting atmosphere. The remaining 3 tried to retreat. Pilot Officer Greg Hamilton and his fighter squadron made sure they did not get far. Hamilton's voice came over the combat network, his tone casual despite flying through a debris field at combat speeds. Hawk Squadron engaging. These guys fly like they're taking a test, not fighting a war. His 12 fighters moved in perfect coordination, not because they followed standard tactics, but because they did not. Human pilots had learned to fly in Earth's gravity well, dodging orbital debris and navigating through asteroid fields. Pilots trained in simulators that taught them proper procedure. Proper procedure got you killed against opponents who refused to be predictable. Hamilton's fighter rolled through an impossible spiral, coming up behind a ship and putting 3 missiles into its engines before the enemy pilot even registered the threat. His wingman, flying so close they nearly touched, took out another target. The last ship tried to ram one of the human fighters. The pilot simply was not there anymore, having already moved to a new attack vector. The enemy ship sailed through empty space and into the sights of 2 more human pilots. Hawk Squadron targets eliminated, Hamilton reported. Station is clear for demolition. Foster nodded with satisfaction. Acknowledged. All ships focus fire on the construction facilities. Nothing leaves this system operational. The naval yard at Station had been building warships for 30 years. In the next 20 minutes, human forces reduced it to scrap metal and debris. Across 3 other star systems, identical scenes played out with ruthless efficiency. Colonel Martinez crouched in the ventilation shaft of Command Station 7, his combat suit rendering him nearly invisible to sensors. Behind him, 4 more operators moved in perfect silence. They had infiltrated the facility 3 hours ago, slipping past security systems designed to catch sophisticated alien technology, not humans using low-tech stealth and patience. Command, this is Shadow Team Alpha, Martinez whispered into his secure communicator. We're at the Central Communications Hub, ready to proceed. Admiral's voice came back. You are clear to engage, Colonel, make it count. Martinez smiled in the darkness. Oh, we will. He dropped from the ventilation shaft into a corridor, his weapon already tracking for targets. 2 guards looked up in shock. They were still reaching for their weapons when Martinez put them down with precise shots. His team secured the area in seconds. Plant the charges, Martinez ordered. We have 4 minutes before their security response. His team moved with practiced efficiency. Explosive charges went onto the main communication relays, the backup systems, and the power distribution nodes. When they finished, Command Station 7 would be blind, deaf, and unable to coordinate anything. Martinez checked his chronometer, 3 minutes 40 seconds. Everyone out, use extraction route Charlie. They moved back through the maintenance corridors, passing more confused personnel who barely had time to realize humans were among them before getting stunned or eliminated. Martinez and his team were back in their stealth transport and clear of the station with 20 seconds to spare. The charges detonated exactly on schedule. From space, Command Station 7 looked untouched. Inside, every communication system was dead, every coordination network offline. The military in that entire sector had just lost its ability to talk to each other. 22 other special operations teams reported similar success across territory. On the bridge of the warship Dominance, Commander stared at his tactical display in growing horror. Red indicators marked destroyed facilities, damaged ships, and offline communication networks. The attacks had started 30 minutes ago, and already the defense network was in shambles. "Get me Overlord," ordered. "Sir, communication channels are compromised. We cannot establish a secure link." Slammed his appendage against the console. "Then use unsecured channels. The Overlord needs to know we're under full-scale assault." A junior officer spoke up nervously. "Commander, we're receiving reports from the outer territories. Multiple human fleets are striking simultaneously. They're hitting everything. Supply depots, repair stations, patrol bases. Sir, they're everywhere at once." "That's impossible," said. "Intelligence reported the humans have limited fleet strength. They cannot be in 26 places simultaneously." "They're doing it anyway, sir." Pulled up the tactical map. The young officer was right. Human forces were striking across 4 entire star systems with precision that suggested perfect intelligence and coordination. This was not the desperate attack of a vengeful but weak species. This was a planned military operation executed by professionals. "How many ships do the humans have?" demanded. "Current estimates suggest over 300 combat vessels, sir." Felt something he had never experienced before in 40 years of military service. He felt afraid. "Order all nearby fleets to converge and form a defensive perimeter. We need to consolidate our forces." "Sir, the communication networks are down. We can only reach ships in this immediate sector." Which meant every commander was making independent decisions without coordination. The humans had known exactly how to paralyze the military, cut the communications, strike everywhere at once, and watch as isolated units fell one by one. "Prepare the fleet for combat," ordered. "If we cannot coordinate with others, we defend what we can." His tactical officer looked at the display showing 3 human warships approaching their position. The human vessels were smaller than ships, but they moved with disturbing confidence. "Sir, should we attempt to negotiate?" Almost laughed at the absurdity. The humans were not here to negotiate. They were here to teach the same lesson that had tried to teach them. The difference was that humans were much better teachers. "No," said quietly. "We fight, and we hope someone survives to tell the Overlord that we underestimated them." Back on the Retribution, Captain Foster watched his tactical display as reports flooded in from across the combat zones. Every human force was achieving its objectives. Enemy resistance was scattered and ineffective. They kept trying to use standard defensive tactics, and humans kept punishing them for it. "Captain, we're receiving a distress call from a civilian transport," Lieutenant Flores reported. "They're requesting asylum." Foster frowned. "Are they armed?" "No, sir. Cargo manifests show medical supplies and civilian personnel. They're evacuating from station." "Let them go," Foster ordered. "We're not here to kill civilians. Make sure everyone knows that. Military targets only." Flores relayed the order. Around the human fleet, a pattern emerged. Military vessels were destroyed without mercy. Civilian ships were warned away or allowed to retreat. The message was clear. Humans distinguished between soldiers and innocents, even when angry. Pilot Officer Hamilton's squadron regrouped after destroying another wave of enemy fighters. His ships were damaged but functional. The pilots were brave but predictable, throwing themselves at the humans with more courage than skill. "Hawk Squadron to Retribution," Hamilton reported. "We've cleared the local space. What's next?" Foster checked his orders. "Proceed to Waypoint Delta and support the assault on the orbital defense grid." And Hamilton. "Yes, sir." "Good flying. Your people are doing Earth proud." Hamilton's squadron accelerated toward their next target, dodging through debris that had been military infrastructure an hour ago. On Station Unity Prime, the Galactic Council watched the battle reports with growing shock. Ambassador stood at the central podium, his usual calm demeanor showing cracks. "This is unprecedented," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "The humans are dismantling an entire military network in hours, not days, not weeks, hours." The assembled representatives watched tactical displays showing human forces methodically destroying military assets. One representative from a peaceful trading confederation spoke up. "Perhaps we should have acted more quickly on their initial request." "This is exactly why we have procedures," another representative argued. "Immediate military action leads to chaos and escalation. And slow deliberation," Ambassador said quietly, "leads to this. The humans did not wait for justice, they went and took it." The representative was notably absent. Reports indicated he was trying to contact his government, but with communication networks across space in ruins, his success was limited. A military observer from the Empire studied the human tactics with professional interest. "They are not fighting to conquer territory. They are fighting to destroy the ability to wage war. Every target is military infrastructure. Every strike is designed to degrade enemy capability." "How long can the hold out?" someone asked. The observer brought up casualty projections. "At this rate, perhaps another 18 hours before their military collapses completely. The humans are not just winning, they are systematically erasing military power from existence." Across the council chamber, representatives who had been amused by humanity's distress 2 days ago now looked worried. A species that could mobilize 300 warships in 48 hours and execute a multi-system assault with this level of coordination was not to be dismissed. The third day of the war found the Empire in ruins. Overlord stood in his command center on the watching tactical displays that told a story of complete military collapse. 60% of his fleet was destroyed. Every major military installation in the outer territories was either damaged or offline. Communication networks remained compromised. Supply lines were cut, and human forces were still coming. "How did this happen?" demanded, his voice shaking with rage and something that might have been fear. "We are a galactic power, they are newcomers, primitives." General, one of the few senior officers who had survived the assault, spoke carefully. "Overlord, the humans were never primitive. They deceived us. Their merchant fleet was actually a distributed navy. Their technology is far more advanced than our intelligence suggested, and their tactics are unlike anything we have encountered." Turned on him, "You are making excuses for failure." "I am explaining reality," replied. "The humans struck 26 targets simultaneously with perfect coordination. They infiltrated our most secure facilities. They anticipated every defensive measure we employed. Overlord, they planned this, perhaps for years." "Then we sue for peace," said. "Contact the Galactic Council, arrange a ceasefire." "I have tried, Overlord. The humans refuse to negotiate. Admiral's response was quite clear." Pulled up a recorded message. Admiral's face appeared, his expression cold and implacable. "You wanted to teach us our place in the galaxy," his recorded voice said. "We learned the lesson. Our place is wherever we say it is, and your place is at the end of our gun sights until you surrender unconditionally. There will be no negotiations, no mediation, no diplomatic solution. You killed our children. Now you face the consequences." The message ended. Stared at the blank screen. "Unconditional surrender, that is unacceptable. We are the Empire. We do not surrender to anyone." "Then we fight," said quietly. "We pull back our remaining forces to defend them, make them pay for every meter of space they take." "How many ships do we have left?" 42 capital ships, perhaps 90 smaller vessels. We can call back the Third Fleet from the frontier, but that will take time." Made his decision. "Recall all forces to we make our stand here, and prepare the same weapons we used on the human colonies. If they want to fight, we will show them what total war means." Looked alarmed. "Overlord, those weapons target civilian populations. If we use them against Earth, we commit genocide." "They are already committing genocide against us," snapped. "We will show them that two can play a total war." On the human command ship Defiance, Captain Grant received the intelligence report about movements. All their remaining forces were converging on the enemy was consolidating for a final battle. They're making this easier, her tactical officer commented. All targets in one location. Or more dangerous, corrected. A cornered enemy is unpredictable. Make sure all ships are at full combat readiness. She opened a channel to Admiral. Sir, we have confirmation. They are fortifying there. Looks like they're preparing for a siege. His face appeared on her screen. Actually, Captain, it looks like they're preparing for something worse. Intelligence intercepted communications suggesting they plan to use mass casualty weapons against Earth. Felt cold anger wash over her. They're planning to do to Earth what they did to our colonies. Appears so, which means we need to end this quickly. How long until your task force reaches space? 36 hours, Admiral. General's ground forces will be right behind you. When you arrive, you are cleared for total suppression of military capability. But listen carefully. Military targets only, we are not them. No matter how angry we are, we do not become them. Nodded, understood, sir. Military targets only. The channel closed, looked at her crew. You heard the Admiral. We're going in hard, but we're going in clean. Weapons systems, I want targeting profiles for every military installation on the navigation. Plot the most efficient approach vector. Communications, send to all ships in the task force. Prepare for final assault. Her crew moved with practiced efficiency. The Defiance and her escort ships accelerated toward their destination. Behind them, dozens more human warships followed. On the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Helen Carter addressed an emergency session. The assembled representatives looked nervous. News of the impending battle for the had spread, and many species worried about the implications. Earth does not seek galactic domination, Helen said firmly. We seek justice for an unprovoked attack that killed 47,000 innocent people. The Empire chose violence. We are responding in kind. Ambassador spoke up. Ambassador Carter, we understand your anger, but destroying the military completely could destabilize this entire region of space. There must be a diplomatic solution. There is, Helen replied. Unconditional surrender, reparations for the families of the dead, and overlords standing trial for war crimes. Those are our terms. They are not negotiable. And if they refuse? Helen's expression hardened. Then we will reduce their military to ash and impose the terms anyway. We gave diplomacy a chance. For 3 years we participated in your councils and followed your procedures. They ignored all of it and murdered our people. So now we do things our way. A representative from a minor trading world spoke nervously. But Ambassador, if every species responds to conflict with immediate military force, the galactic order will collapse into chaos. The galactic order failed us, Helen said bluntly. You were going to form a committee. They were already planning their next attack on Earth itself. Your procedures are too slow for reality. We cannot wait weeks for justice while our families die. She pulled up tactical displays showing the military before and after the human assault. The difference was stark. 72 hours ago, the Empire was a significant military power. Now they are a broken force clinging to there. We did in 3 days what your councils would have debated for 3 months, and we will finish the job. The chamber fell silent. No one had a response to that. Across the galaxy, other species watched the conflict with varying degrees of concern, fascination, and fear. The humans had proven themselves far more capable than anyone expected. Military analysts studied the tactics. Political leaders reassessed their assumptions about Earth's place in galactic society. On a dozen worlds, defense ministers quietly began reviewing their own war plans against potential human aggression. Colonel Martinez and his special operations teams had a new mission. While the main fleet prepared for the final assault, they would go in first and disable the weapons that threatened Earth. Intelligence confirms these are the facilities housing their long-range strike capability, Martinez briefed his team. We need to take them offline before they can launch. No margin for error on this one. His operators checked their equipment silently. They had been at war for 3 days straight with almost no rest. No one complained. We insert in 4 hours, Martinez continued. Mission profiles are in your data pads. 3 teams, 3 targets, simultaneous assault. Questions. Rules of engagement, sir? Someone asked. Anyone trying to launch weapons at Earth is a legitimate target. Everyone else gets a chance to surrender. We are not executioners. Martinez looked at each face in the room. We are professionals. We fight hard, but we fight clean. Understood. The response was immediate and unified. Yes, sir. 4 hours later, 3 special operations teams infiltrated deep into territory. Their insertion was silent and precise. The security forces never saw them coming. Martinez led his team through underground tunnels beneath Launch Facility Alpha. They had built these weapons to strike at civilian populations from thousands of light years away. The thought of what they had planned for Earth made his blood cold. Charges set, his demolition expert reported. Facility will be inoperable for years after this detonation. Good, everyone out, we have 6 minutes. They extracted the same way they came in, unseen and lethal. The charges detonated exactly on schedule, collapsing the launch facility and burying the weapons under tons of debris. 2 other teams reported identical success. Shadow teams to command, Martinez reported. All 3 weapon facilities are destroyed. The threat to Earth is neutralized. Admiral's voice came back with evident relief. Excellent work, Colonel. Extract your people and stand by for next orders. Martinez and his teams disappeared back into the darkness, leaving them wondering how humans had struck so deep into their territory. General watched his ground forces load into assault transports. 30,000 soldiers prepared for a ground operation that everyone hoped would not be necessary. If they surrendered, these troops would handle occupation and security. If they fought to the last, these soldiers would take them by force. Hoped for surrender, but he prepared for war. Status report, he ordered his staff. All units combat ready, sir. Transport fleet is standing by. We can be on the surface within 12 hours of receiving the go order. Casualties projections. The intelligence officer pulled up the analysis. If they resist, we're looking at significant fighting. Urban combat against desperate defenders could be messy. Nodded grimly. Then let's hope they see reason, but make sure every soldier knows the rules. Military targets only. Prisoners are to be treated properly. Any soldier who commits atrocities will face court-martial. We are liberators, not conquerors. His staff acknowledged the orders. The transport fleet moved into position, waiting for the final battle to begin. On the Overlord received reports of the destroyed weapon facilities with growing desperation. His last option for forcing a draw was gone. The humans had reached deep into his territory and destroyed the weapons that might have saved him. We still have the home fleet, General reported. 132 ships ready for battle. Looked at the tactical display showing human forces approaching. How many do they have? Our best estimate is 340 combat vessels, but many have taken damage in previous engagements. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. 340 warships arranged themselves in attack patterns that had been refined over 3 days of constant combat. At their head was the Defiance, Captain Grant commanding. The home fleet waited for them in orbit above there. 132 ships, every vessel the Empire had left. It was the largest concentration of military power remaining in the galaxy. It was not enough. Captain, the enemy fleet is hailing us, the communications officer reported. Nodded, put them through. General's face appeared on the main screen. The officer looked tired and resigned. Human Commander, I am General of the Imperial Fleet. I am authorized to discuss terms of engagement. There are no terms, replied. You surrender unconditionally or we destroy your fleet. Those are your options. You would slaughter us all. No, we would eliminate your military capability. There is a difference. We do not target civilians. We do not bomb colonies. We do not murder families. Leaned forward. We are not you. Was silent for a moment. If I order surrender, Overlord will have me executed for cowardice. Then he can join you in the prisoner transport, said. Because this ends one way or another in the next few hours. How many of your people die is up to you. The channel went silent, waited watching the tactical display. The fleet held position, weapons charged but not firing. The seconds stretched into minutes. Finally, space reappeared. The Overlord refuses surrender. He orders us to fight to the last ship. Felt a wave of sadness. I am sorry to hear that. For the record, General, you fought honorably. Your people deserved better leadership. For the record, Captain, we underestimated humans. It was a fatal mistake. The channel closed. Both fleets prepared for battle. All ships, this is Grant, transmitted to the human fleet. Enemy has refused surrender. Weapons free. Target military vessels only. Remember, we are professionals. Let us finish this. The battle began. The fleet moved first, launching a coordinated missile strike that lit up space with thousands of warheads. It was an impressive display of firepower. It was also predictable. The human fleet had spent 3 days studying tactics. Every maneuver, every formation, every standard procedure was catalogued and countered. The missile swarm met a wall of point defense fire and autonomous drones. 90% of the warheads were intercepted before reaching their targets. The remaining 10% struck human shields that were specifically calibrated against weapons. "Return fire," ordered calmly. The human response was not a massive volley, but precisely targeted strikes. Each human ship engaged specific enemy vessels with weapons designed to overwhelm their defenses. Quantum disruption missiles phased through shields. Kinetic penetrators struck at vulnerable points. And everywhere, the small autonomous drones swarmed over ships, attacking sensors and weapon systems. The fleet fought bravely. Their ships maneuvered, their weapons fired, their shields held. For perhaps 30 minutes it looked like a real battle. Then the human advantages became overwhelming. Human ships moved with better coordination. Human weapons struck with greater accuracy. Human tactical computers outthought defensive systems. The battle was not a slaughter, but it was never really in doubt. General watched from his command ship as the fleet he had sworn to protect was systematically dismantled. His tactical officer kept calling out losses. Ship after ship fell silent, crippled, or destroyed. The humans did not waste ammunition. Every shot had a purpose. Every target was chosen for maximum strategic effect. "Sir, we have lost 40% of the fleet," the tactical officer reported. "Our formation is collapsing." Looked at the display. The human fleet had barely taken damage, perhaps 8% casualties, and even those ships were still fighting. It was like watching children fight adults. The courage was there, but the capability was not. "Open a channel to the human flagship," ordered. Space appeared, "General." "I am ordering my fleet to stand down," said quietly. "Overlord may have my head for this, but I will not watch my people die for his pride. We surrender." Nodded with respect. "Power down your weapons and shields. Maintain current positions. Any ship that tries to continue fighting will be destroyed. Do you understand?" "I understand, Captain." The fleet went dark. Across 132 ships, weapons powered down and shields deactivated. The battle was over. It had lasted 4 hours. On the planet below, Overlord watched the surrender with growing rage. His fleet, his pride, his entire military force had just capitulated to the humans. It was inconceivable, unacceptable. "Ready my personal guard," ordered. "If the humans want me, they can come down here and take me." His guards moved to comply, but General was already ahead of him. Colonel Martinez and his special operations teams had been on the planet for 2 hours, inserted during the orbital battle. They moved through the capital city with practiced stealth, avoiding civilian areas and heading straight for the command complex. "Shadow Team Alpha to command, we have visual on the target building," Martinez reported. "No sign of evacuation, looks like is making a stand." Admiral's voice came back. "Colonel, Overlord is to be taken alive if possible. He stands trial for war crimes. If he resists with deadly force, you are authorized to respond accordingly." "Understood, sir." Martinez led his team through the perimeter security. The guards never saw them coming. Within 20 minutes, they were inside the command complex. 10 minutes after that, they were outside's command chamber. Breaching in 3, 2, 1. The doors exploded inward. Martinez and his team moved through the smoke with precision. Guards raised weapons. The humans were faster. Stunners dropped the guards without killing them. In 15 seconds, the room was secure. Overlord stood at his command console, a weapon in his appendage. He pointed it at Martinez. "You dare enter here, human." Martinez kept his weapon trained on but did not fire. "Overlord, you are under arrest for war crimes against humanity. You can surrender now, or we can do this the hard way." "I am the leader of an empire," said. "I do not surrender to primitives." "We're the primitives who just destroyed your entire military in 96 hours, Martinez replied calmly. "Now put down the weapon." Appendage shook. For a moment, it looked like he might fire. Then he looked around the room at the human soldiers with their weapons trained on him. He looked at his guards lying stunned on the floor. He looked at his tactical displays showing his defeated fleet in orbit. The weapon clattered to the floor. "Smart choice," Martinez said. He signaled his team. "Secure the prisoner, let's get him to the transport." Was led away in restraints, the mighty overlord reduced to a war criminal in custody. On Station Unity Prime, the Galactic Council reconvened to witness the aftermath. Captain Dan Rivers, commanding the human negotiation vessel, presented Earth's formal terms to the assembled representatives. "The Empire has surrendered unconditionally," Rivers stated. "Earth demands the following: full reparations to the families of the 47,000 killed in the initial attack, restriction of military capability to defensive forces only, and the trial of Overlord before a galactic tribunal for crimes against sentient beings." Ambassador looked at the terms carefully. "These are harsh but not unreasonable. The Council can facilitate the tribunal." "With respect," Rivers said, "Earth will not wait for Council procedures. The tribunal begins in 30 days on Earth. You are welcome to observe. Any who wish to present evidence may do so. But this trial happens on our schedule, not yours." A murmur ran through the chamber. The military observer spoke up. "You are dictating terms to the Council." "We are informing the Council of reality," Rivers replied. "You had your chance to act. You debated for 6 days while we fought for 4. We learned that waiting for galactic consensus is the same as waiting forever." Admiral's face appeared on the chamber displays, his image transmitted from Earth. "Let me be clear to everyone in this chamber. For 3 years we played by your rules. We negotiated, we compromised, we followed proper procedures. They ignored all of it and murdered our people. So now we have one new rule." He paused, looking directly into the camera. "Anyone who attacks human civilians will face immediate, overwhelming, and total military response. We will not wait for committees. We will not debate diplomatic solutions. We will come for you with everything we have, and we will not stop until you are no longer a threat." The chamber was silent. "However," continued, his tone softening slightly, "anyone who deals with us fairly will find we are excellent allies. We seek trade, cooperation, mutual defense. We will honor our agreements and stand by our friends, but we will also protect our people at any cost." Ambassador Helen Carter stood at the human podium. "Earth remains committed to galactic society. We wish to participate in trade, cultural exchange, and collective security. But we do so as equals, not as junior members who can be bullied. They learned this lesson. We hope no one else needs to." Ambassador considered her words carefully. "Ambassador Carter, your military capability has proven far greater than any projected. Your response to aggression was swift and decisive. Many in this chamber now fear human expansionism." "Then they misunderstand us," Helen replied. "We did not take a single world. We did not occupy their territory. We destroyed their military and arrested their criminal leadership. Then we stopped. We are not conquerors. We are defenders of our own. There is a difference." She looked around the chamber at the assembled representatives. 3 days ago you thought us weak because we sought peace. You confused patience with passivity. Let me correct that misunderstanding. Humans choose peace because we are terrifyingly good at war. We know what war costs. We know what it destroys, so we avoid it when possible. But when war is forced upon us, we do not hesitate, we do not falter, and we do not lose. Several representatives looked uncomfortable. Others looked thoughtful. A few looked impressed. The mediator spoke up. "What happens now? The military is destroyed. Their government is in custody. Will Earth administer their territory?" "No," Rivers answered. "We will establish a peacekeeping force until the people can form a new government. Free elections, no military dictatorship. They get to choose their future. We just make sure that future does not include attacking anyone else." Captain Grant supervised the occupation from orbit. General's ground forces had secured key locations on the. The population was shocked, confused, and relieved in equal measure. Many had not realized their government was leading them to destruction. "Captain, we're receiving requests from civilian leadership," her communications officer reported. "They want to meet with human authorities to discuss transition." "Arrange a meeting," ordered. "Tell them we come as liberators, not conquerors. Their empire is ended, but their people have a future." Back on Earth, memorial services were held for the 47,000 dead. The names of every victim were read aloud in ceremonies that took days. Families mourned. The planet grieved. But they also felt something else. Pride. Their people had avenged the fallen. Their military had performed with devastating efficiency, and the galaxy now understood that humanity was not to be trifled with. Captain Jake stood at the observation deck of Sentinel-7, the same place where he had watched the initial attack. But now he watched human ships patrolling in formation, vigilant and ready. The colonies were being rebuilt. The dead were honored. Justice had been served. His daughter's message appeared on his personal display. She was safe, like all the children on Earth, protected by the knowledge that humanity would go to any length to defend its own. Jake pulled up the tactical display showing the, now peaceful under human supervision. 96 hours from attack to victory. 4 days that changed the galaxy's perception of humanity forever. They thought we were weak, Jake said quietly to himself. They thought 4 days was too quick for justice. They had never seen humans protect their own. Across the galaxy, species that had dismissed humanity as newcomers now reassessed everything. Trade delegations from a dozen worlds requested meetings with Earth. Defense pacts were proposed. Cultural exchanges were suggested. The message was clear. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, not as supplicants or junior members, but as a power that demanded respect. Admiral addressed the fleet in a final transmission. You fought with honor and precision. You destroyed an enemy military in 4 days while minimizing civilian casualties. You proved that humans are dangerous not because we are cruel, but because we are capable. Every species in this galaxy now knows one simple truth. We seek peace, but if you bring us war, we will finish it. Quickly. On Station Unity Prime, Ambassador prepared a report for the Council archives. He titled it The 4-Day War, a Cautionary Study. In it, he wrote a conclusion that would be read by diplomats for generations. Humans taught us 2 lessons. First, peaceful species are not necessarily weak species. Second, the most dangerous warriors are those who choose not to fight until given no alternative. The Empire learned both lessons in 96 hours. The cost of their education was the destruction of their military might and the end of their imperial ambitions. Other species would do well to remember this. Humanity seeks friendship, but they bring their teeth to every meeting, and those teeth are very, very sharp. The galaxy had learned. Humanity was home now, and home was a place you did not threaten lightly. So we are outnumbered 3-1. Yes, Overlord. Closed his eyes. 3 days ago he had celebrated a glorious victory over the humans. He had mocked them, dismissed them, thought them weak and unworthy of respect. Now they were at his door with overwhelming force, and his empire was dying. Prepare the fleet, said quietly. We fight. If the empire must end, we will end it with honor. Saluted and moved to execute the orders. Both of them knew what was coming. The humans were about to deliver the final lesson. And this time, they would learn it permanently. On Earth, Admiral received the first round of after-action reports. 18 hours into the operation, and every objective was met or exceeded. Losses were catastrophic. Human losses were minimal. The plan was working exactly as designed. Send orders to all fleet commanders, said. Phase 2 begins in 6 hours. Start moving assets toward the core territories. It's time to knock on their front door. His staff moved to execute the orders, allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. They had killed 47,000 people and expected slow, ineffective reprisal. Instead, they got the fury of an entire species delivered with surgical precision. Overlord would learn his lesson. Everyone would. The general looked uncertain but said nothing. Turned back to his victory celebration. In 3 days, he would address the people about their glorious triumph over the upstart humans. The galaxy would see that the Empire remained a force to be respected. He had no idea that he had 72 hours left before everything he knew turned to ash. The Council is debating, said to his assembled officers. They'll debate for weeks while we bury our dead, so here's what we're going to do instead. We're going to hit every military target we can reach. We're going to hit them all at once, and we're going to hit them so hard that every species in this galaxy remembers one simple fact. He paused, looking at each face in the command center. You can kill humans, but you better kill all of us because the ones you miss will make you regret it.